Have you ever tried to run a business on stacks of messy, handwritten paperwork? It's chaos. Well, today, we're going to dive into the story of how one team took that exact chaos and built a zero-touch AI engine to automate the whole thing. This is a really cool story about a massive business transformation built from the ground up.
You know, every great invention starts by solving a really painful problem. And for businesses and field services, think HVAC, plumbing, you name it, that pain is the daily grind of manual data entry. It's this slow, expensive cycle where every single time someone types something in, it's a chance for a mistake, costing a ton of time and money.
So the whole goal of this project was to completely change what it means to be a dispatcher. The idea was to transform them from basically a data entry clerk who's just buried in repetitive typing into more of an air traffic controller. You know, someone who's making the high-level calls, managing the entire system, and guiding the flow of work with total efficiency.
All right, so to really build a revolutionary solution, you first got to truly understand the nightmare you're trying to solve. Let's break down the specific, really costly pain points that made this kind of automation an absolute must-have.
It pretty much boils down to three things. First, you're paying skilled people good money to do robotic, mind-numbing work. Second, human error. It just happens and it's expensive. A wrong address means a totally wasted trick. And third, a lot of businesses try to patch this problem together with a bunch of different software tools, which just leads to subscription fatigue and a workflow that's clunky and super expensive.
So the journey began with a really practical approach, using a no-code platform to build the first version of the system. The big idea was to create a visual cockpit for dispatchers, kind of like a central hub to manage all the active jobs.
And at first, progress was incredibly fast. In March, they spun up a Kanban-style board, proved the MVP actually worked, and shifted to an automation-first strategy. Everything seemed like it was perfectly on track until they slammed right into a major wall with the platform itself.
This is the moment in any development story where things get really interesting. It's when the very tools you're relying on just can't do what you need them to do. When no code just says no.
Okay, get this. This is a wild example of the strange new problems we're all facing with AI. The platform's own AI assistant confidently told the developer that a board view feature was available, but it didn't exist. It just made it up. The developer had to literally take a screenshot of the interface just to prove to the AI that it was hallucinating. Crazy, right?
And that brings up a really fascinating question. What do you do when the platform itself lies to you? You can't just follow the instructions anymore. You have to innovate. You have to figure out a completely different way forward.
And that's exactly what they did. The original dream of a cool drag-and-drop Kanban board totally scrapped. Instead, they had to reimagine the entire architecture around a much more robust, reliable one-touch system, where dispatchers would use these really clear, specific buttons to move jobs along. In the end, that big setback actually forced a much better design.
And that crucial pivot didn't just solve one little problem. It actually led them straight to the project's single biggest breakthrough, the zero-touch AI engine.
So version 1.8 of the system became something so much more than just an app. It evolved into a truly autonomous engine. It wasn't just a place for people to click buttons anymore. It was now an intelligent system that could handle the entire data pipeline all on its own.
Just look at this new flow. It completely removes the human from all the tedious parts of the job. An email with a PDF work order comes in, the AI sees it reads it structures all the data perfectly, and then injects it straight into the database. No typing, no copying, no pasting, just done.
So how does this native brain actually work? Let's get under the hood and break down the three key innovations that solve those core business problems we talked about right at the beginning.
First up is the biggest headache in any field service business, the paperwork. Work orders often show up as scanned PDFs, and sometimes they've got this messy, barely readable handwriting all over them. How in the world do you automate that?
Well, this is the power of modern multimodal AI. It's amazing. The system uses Gemini 1.5 Pro to literally see and read documents just like a person would. It scans the page, it figures out the handwriting, and it pulls out all the critical info with perfect accuracy, turning total chaos into perfectly structured data.
The second huge challenge was speed. When you're using these no-code platforms, sometimes the automations can have a delay, what's called a sync lag. For something like calculating the price of a job, which could have a bunch of different factors, that lag is a real killer.
The solution here was to take the pricing logic out of the platform's slow automation
and instead build it directly into a custom script. This native pricing engine instantly applies the right job price, like the $1,700 you see here, plus any other variables. The result? Instant, accurate pricing with zero delay.
Okay, the final challenge is all about playing defense. What happens when the AI gets a work order that's missing a super important piece of info, like a purchase order number? If you just let that incomplete data through, you risk messing up your entire database.
The solution is so simple, but it's absolutely brilliant. They built a failsafe. If the AI can't find a purchase order number, it just automatically writes 0000 in that spot. This one simple rule stops the entry from failing, makes sure every single job gets logged, and protects the integrity of the whole database. It's a safety net that catches any potential errors before they happen.
So, when you put it all together side by side, the transformation is just night and day. Manual, error-prone data entry becomes flawless AI parsing. Delayed, laggy pricing becomes instant native logic, and the high risk of data gaps gets secured by an intelligent failsafe. It's a total paradigm shift.
You know, the big takeaway here is that this project went way beyond just automating a few tasks. This was about building a core operational system, a digital nervous system that could sense information, process it, and act on it all by itself, which lets the humans focus on what they actually do best.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. If AI can tackle some of the most frustrating, messy, manual tasks in a complex business, what tedious part of your work do you think will be the next to become zero touch? Thanks for tuning in.